What's up, everybody? Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles. I'm back again. I apologize. It's been a while since I've done a video. So I'm going to try to get a couple done today so I can just keep uploading them throughout the week. So today I'm going to do a video on how to handle or how to, tame down your pet reptile. So this is going to be focused specifically towards snakes. I have a few different examples. I have a Burmese Python, a couple different boa constrictors, and a corn snake. The approach is going to be the same for all of them. It's just basically to tame them down, you're just going to have to handle them. The more time you spend with them, the better. Although there is this kind of love-hate relationship between them where you don't really want to hold them too much because you can stress them out, specifically as babies. So you definitely want to have a consistent handling schedule. If this is going to be a pet of yours in the future, specifically if it's going to be a large pet, Burmese Python, reticulated python, even a boa constrictor. These guys get really large or get fairly large, in the boa constrictor range, in that 5 to 7 foot range for a snake. Some people may consider that small, some say that's massive. So we're going to go through a couple different snakes, show you how to handle them, the approach to picking them up, letting them down, and just having that be a positive relationship, a positive interaction with the snake. That's going to be key to socializing your reptiles, is every interaction needs to be positive. Even if it's a stressful interaction for the snake, if you feel like you're getting yourself a little overwhelmed and the snake's starting to become flighty, just put the snake back. That's fine. You're better off leaving it like that than having the snake start biting and then freaking everything out. So that's it's really all you need to do is to hold them. And that's kind of the approach for most reptiles, with the exception of some lizards and monitor lizards, tegus, more kind of higher thinking animals. You almost have to earn their trust. So it's a little bit more labor intensive. It's more of a process for something like a water monitor or anything of that nature. Snakes, for the most part, the more frequent you handle them, the better, again, with a limit on that, because you don't want to stress them out. So it's all about creating that interaction between you and the animal, that it knows, okay, this big thing is coming to pick me up, and I'm going to get to stretch out. I'm going to get to climb on chairs. You maybe have a fake plant, or maybe have a plant that you put the snake on, let it kind of curl up and get some exercise. It's all about being positive with the snake, so that when the snake sees you and it associates you with something positive. If you go in there and you grab it behind the head and it's stressed out, it's all freaked out, every time that snake sees you, it's going to say, like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. It's going to try to get away. It's going to try to bite, become very defensive, because these animals, they're not, they have no reason to like you. They also have no reason to really hate you. They just don't know anything about you. So specifically as babies, if you're a new snake owner, I always recommend getting a baby snake. If you have a baby snake, it's kind of a clean slate. I like to use that term for reptiles, is these things are clean slates when they're born. They're naturally kind of afraid of anything bigger than them. In the wild, anything larger than them can usually eat them. So they're seeing you as a predator. You need to make it so that they realize that, hey, this person isn't so bad. It picks me up, it lets me stretch out, I can hang out, and I can have a good time. So I'm going to go through a couple snakes. I'm going to turn the camera around, put it down on the snake view so you can see what I'm doing with my hands. You can see how the snake is interacting, rather than me taking a box like this and pulling it out. I am going to say, because people keep commenting, no, they do not live in these boxes. These boxes I have here are specifically so I can take them out and show you guys, and I can have easy access to them, not running around here like crazy. So I'm going to pause the video, flip it around, bring it on top so you guys can see what's going on. All right, everybody, so we're back. I have my snakes here. I get some over next to me. I get this guy right here. I'm going to show you one by one. So this is a Pacalpa Peruvian boa constrictor. This is a pure red tail, a BCC. So you can see the snake's hissing. So it's not a happy snake. This is a really good example. I picked this snake because I knew it's not a really happy snake. So I can show you how I'm going to approach this for a snake that you can clearly see doesn't want to be handled. And I wish I could show you this as a time lapse. As you'll see in some other videos I have, I have some baby snakes that were defensive, and now I'm holding them as adults and they're not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a gentle tap on the head, and that just kind of turns its little response off. I'm going to come around under the back and just gently pick it up. And it's very important when you do this to just stay calm. The snake's fine. The snake is nervous, a lot more nervous than you will ever be. So if it gives you a little defensive bite, that's fine. and you just kind of hold the snake. You know, you hold it, let it crawl around throughout your hands. It's gonna smell you. It's gonna figure out where you are, what's going on, how things are interacting, and you can see immediately it's a lot calmer. Now, don't lose it at this point. So you can easily get excited and say, oh, look, the snake's not hissing anymore. It's not biting, but it's still very nervous. It's just sensing you. It's smelling around, figuring out what the heck's going on. It's now above the ground. You're supporting it by your hands. And that's very important, to just provide a lot of support for the snake. The best advice that I ever heard was just pretend you're like a branch. So if you have this snake that's coming out like this, I would kind of wiggle this hand like this, and then put your other hand in from underneath it. That way it's already moving and it doesn't catch it off guard as if you just kind of grabbed it. You never want to go over the top of the animal and grab it or squeeze it, because that's just going to make them really nervous. So you can see the whole demeanor of this snake has just really calmed down, and it's just a beautiful snake. So not hissing. This snake I could probably keep out for maybe another 5 to 10 minutes if I wanted to, just hand over hand, letting the snake move where it wants to. I'm not restricting it. I am putting a little bit of pressure between my fingers just to slow it down. The snake actually does have a male in it as well, so you can see there's kind of a bump right here. So that's the male in the snake. I don't want to stress it out too much, but if you did this consistently a couple times a week, maybe every other day when they're babies, for about 15 minutes, 10-15 minutes. You could even do that a couple times a day. This snake's going to turn out to be an awesome animal. Probably within a couple weeks, it's going to realize that the hissing will stop. You can go right in and pick it up, and now you have a really cool snake. So that was a boa constrictor. Next, I'm going to go to a Burmese Python, just because these guys tend to be pretty hissy. Let me just get this guy out of the way. So Burmese Pythons tend to be more vocal than they do defensive. So we're going to pop this lid off. Again, the snake's demeanor right here is very curious. It's not coiled up. Its tongue's flicking. It's just a really calm snake. But if I go in and touch it, I'm going to do this on purpose, and you're going to see it's going to hiss. All right, I lied. It didn't hiss. But so this snake's pretty calm. Just from me taking it out of the bin, out of its cage and putting it in here, it's still a little nervous. You know, you touch its face, it's kind of pulling back, but it's just generally just really calm. So again, this snake, 15-20 minutes or so every day, every other day, and it will just be a super cool, very chill snake. Placing it back just nice and gentle, put it back in its closure. You know, if you handle it and you pick it up and it's in the enclosure, you can just let it crawl back in on its own. And this snake, I mean, that snake's pretty calm right there as it is. So Burmese Pythons as babies, they tend to be a little nippy, but that's, you know, as you see, that one's pretty good. So just from me cleaning the cages, because I don't really have time to hold 400 or 500 animals. So just from me cleaning the cages, it realizes, okay, I'm coming out, my cage is getting clean. That's not too bad. Another thing that you will want to do once they get a little calmer. So the first snake was a good example of just how to gently hold it. This snake might be at that next phase where now it knows you're coming out. It's a little more confident. You're going to want to just kind of rub around the corner of the mouth gently, only when they're curious like this. The quick tongue movements, moving around consistently, just rub around its face so it gets used to you holding around its face. You never want to grab the snake behind its neck. Even as you saw I did that, I didn't put pressure on it. The only time you need to do that is if you're giving it medicine or need to restrain it for a certain reason. If you're giving it you know, a pill down its mouth, if you have to force feed it, which you really should never be force feeding a snake. If you're force feeding a snake, this thing should be ready to die before you get to that point. So there's a Burmese Python. Again, pretty calm. You just got a little hiss out of it, but that was not a defensive hiss. Let's see what we have here. I got a couple more. Corn snakes. So corn snake is a good example of a different type of snake that you may interact with it in different ways. So corn snakes tend to be a little bit flightier. This one, as you see, so quick movements, fast tongue flick. This is it's a curious snake, but it's looking for food, and I can tell just by the way it's interacting. Corn snakes tend to be a little flightier as babies, but they calm down and become awesome snakes. The nice part about corn snakes is they're really hardy snakes. They're hard to screw them up. They're very forgiving. Same thing with boa constrictors. Boa constrictors are a very forgiving snake. So this animal, because they're small, it's hard because you want to go in and just grab it. There's no easy way to get underneath it. So you may have to use 2 hands and just kind of scoop it up. And as soon as you get a couple coils, that's perfect. You can pick it up and just let the snake do its thing. So this snake, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but if you can get a look at the eyes, this snake is in full shed. But it still can smell me. It's just very curious. It's still in this feeding mode though right now. It's looking for food. I do have rat defrosting, so that's probably why. So it's smelling around for food. It's wondering, where the heck is my food? Because mainly when I open its tub, it gets fed. So this, you can just see how this one's reacting compared to the first boa constrictor and then the Burmese Python on the second one. This one's very active, looking for things. It's trying to figure out what's going on. Just a really cool snake. I like corn snakes. I think they make cool pets. And this one is just my pet. His name's Chester. He will become a future breeder. And then the last, another baby boa constrictor. I'm not going to show you adults today because that's a whole different topic. You need to approach those very similar, but you may want to, just for your own confidence and for the snake safety, you may want to put on some gloves or a sweatshirt like this. A baby snake like this is not going to be able to bite through a sweatshirt. Their teeth are way too small. Even a thin glove, a thin gardening glove is perfect. I would suggest if you're afraid of getting bit, your nerves are going to make the snake nervous. It's really interesting that when I have my friends over and they hold the snake, I might pull the snake out, then they may hold that snake and all of a sudden the snake starts freaking out. It's all about the little movements you're making, the energy you're giving off in your hands, not so much in, that Tai Chi energy, but in the sense of how hard you're holding, how quickly you're moving, if you're flinching, if you're shaking at all. The snake can feel that. So again, we're going to go in from the back and just pick the snake up. Support the body, and the snake will just be really calm and cool. So that I touched its head, I made it a little nervous, but it right there. So now it's like, okay, what's going on? Just let it do its thing, find its own way down. And this snake is probably... this actually picked some pretty good examples. I'm proud of myself. So you see this snake's moving around a little bit. This snake's in between where that first boa constrictor was and then the Burmese Python, where I don't think it's going to bite me, but this one may try to wiggle really fast and get away from me. So that's something to consider too, is once they start wiggling, you don't want to grab them, but you will want to go hand over hand very quickly so that they don't freak out. So, here's this girl here. Beautiful snake, really calm. This will make an awesome pet. And even just holding it, taking it out to clean the cage, change some water, that's going to calm the snake down. As you see, it's not super comfortable. It's not going to bite me, but it doesn't like when I touch anywhere in the front of its head. So it's just all about reading the snake and understanding the body language. So I try to show a lot of examples in my videos, specifically feeding, body tone, these things like that. In this instance, I'm trying to show you guys a lot of examples of the reaction of the snake. So maybe you can understand, that first snake, very scared, nervous, has no idea what's going on. This one's a little bit older. It's been, moved around more. It knows what's going to happen to it, but it doesn't really have a reason to want it to happen. The corn snake was just looking for food. Even this guy here. So it's just curious. This is a curious snake, looking around, wondering what the heck's going on, has no benefit of coming to me, but also isn't really afraid of me because I've never heard it. So that's something to consider over time. It's not these snakes will just naturally calm down just as you interact with them. So I'll end the video here. It's getting kind of long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully it helps a few of you guys out there. Please share, comment, subscribe. All the subscriptions are awesome. I can't believe the kind of overwhelming number of subscribers I've got over the past couple months. It's really cool to see that. I'm glad you guys are appreciating the videos I'm making. If you have a specific topic, let me know. Shoot me a comment. Easiest way to get a hold of me is probably through Facebook. Facebook Messenger, Instagram, emails. I do check my emails, but a lot of your emails get caught in my spam folder for some reason. So I'm working on that. Or YouTube comments. I usually see the YouTube comments. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. I might get 14 to 15 comments in a day, or once I post a video, it might get flooded with some comments, and it takes me a little bit, but I always try to get to them. So I appreciate you guys watching, following, subscribing, and I'll keep them coming. Thanks, everybody.